Hello and welcome to Tell Us Your Effing Story, a BDC podcast for franchisors where we go behind the scenes with some of the most interesting characters in the Australian franchising sector. I'm your host, Bruce McFarlane, with co-host John Sully, and today we're here with the CEO of Yochi, Brooke Rodger. Welcome, Brooke.
Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Tell us your fucking story.
Oh, God,
okay.
it's still jarring even when you know it's coming.
I know.
It's your franchising story.
Right, got it.
Tell us your franchising story.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back, where you grew up and, bitty background. So, eastern suburbs girl.
Eastern suburbs through and through. Yeah, grew up in Croydon Hills and Ringwood out in the eastern burbs.
That's your neck of the woods.
Yes, we went to school just down the road from each other. We found out last time we were chatting.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So true. So true.
Different schools,
Cool.
yes. Different generation. But
Only marginally. I don't know there's that much difference. You're being generous. Grew up out in the east and a very happy, fulfilled childhood. I'm one of three girls, so two sisters, an older and a younger one. Meant life was always busy and plenty of activities and sports and whatnot. So probably a little hint of middle child syndrome back there growing up. A little bit.
You're the weird middle child, right?
Weird middle child, just desperate for a bit of attention. What about me, guys?
What's the age gap between the three of you?
3 or so between my older sister and I, and then 4 between my
it's a
younger
bit of a
and I.
gap.
Yeah, a bit of a gap.
Yeah. So you're not
Yeah.
necessarily hanging out with the same friends, but
No,
still
not
a bit of
quite.
sibling rivalry,
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And mum and dad, what did they do? What was their...
Mum worked for ANZ Bank for like 30 years. That was her entire career, and she took a break of, I'm going to say 10 or 12 years while she was having kids. When she first fell pregnant must have been 76 with my older sister, it wasn't an option to continue working. You actually had to just finish up. There was no such thing as maternity leave. So thank God times have somewhat changed since then.
Exactly.
She took time out to raise us and then went back to ANZ and was with them right up until her retirement. And Dad worked in FMCG mostly. He worked for what was Nestle's back then, became Nestle, in kind of state sales manager, national sales manager, general manager type roles. Spent quite a few years with Arnott's, and then he did a stint for a few years.
What was he doing with them?
Like national sales type roles.
Sales roles,
Yeah. Dealing with the supermarkets and distribution and whatnot. And he did a few years with Nike as well, much to the delight of my sisters and I.
Yeah.
Towards the end
Some
of my
good
primary
runners?
school years.
Freebies.
Yeah, totally.
Freebies.
Loved it. Like I still remember the smell of walking into the big factory, the big warehouse for the first time, and just this overwhelming smell of shoe leather and being able to choose whatever sneakers we wanted and being kid out head to toe.
That's
So it was-
Christmas.
yeah,
That would have
totally.
been great.
Totally.
So what was your sports of choice for the girls? What were you all playing?
Netball,
Yeah.
lots of netball. And it was, for me, it was playing team, like club netball, rep netball. I was coaching, I was umpiring. It was a really big part
Where
of
were
life.
you playing that?
It was Kalinda Netball Club in Ringwood. It doesn't
right.
exist anymore, but that was a big part of our childhood. And there was dancing and swimming and brownies and whatever else,
Yep.
all the activities.
And what about from a school point of view? What was the subject? What were you interested in going through school?
It was English. It was always English was my favourite. I loved it and still do. Like writing is absolutely in my blood. And PE, because just totally being into sports and into running. I did a lot of running as a kid as well. Went for lots of runs with Dad. He'd take me on his 5K loop around the neighbourhood up until the point that he ended up on a bike and I was running alongside him. We kind of did a full circle shift. So
When you were at school, you were writing stuff? Like you were just studying English, but
Yep.
were you writing stories?
I wrote stories. I wrote poetry. I did a lot of reading. I was a bit of a geek. I always loved words and had a bit of a way with the written word. And that's what I assumed my career would be in the sort of later parts of high school.
Nothing sort of about teenage wizards or anything like that?
No,
sort of
not
started
back
to write
then.
that. Fucking
no,
missed that
I
boat.
know, missed that one, damn it. Yeah, no.
Good boat.
And did you work, what did you work in? Did you have part-time jobs when you were at school?
Yeah, all the part-time jobs. Like as soon as I was old enough to work, I worked at the local fruit shop at Macadam Square. You'd be familiar with that one.
Yep.
But then I joined Suzanne, working at Suzanne at Eastland from the age of 15 through until 20 or 21.
All right.
And that was my first real introduction to the world of retail
Retail, yeah.
and customer service and just the principles of there's never a quiet moment even if there's no customers. There's always something to do, whether it's cleaning or restocking or tidying or steaming clothes. And I think what I learnt with Suzanne back in those days has stuck with me all of these years later in retail.
Yeah, that's good. Good grounding. So what did your sisters do? Writing is arty, I suppose, isn't it? You
Creative.
quite
Creative, yeah. I mean, it's
Are they
probably
along those
arguable
lines?
whether I'm creative, but I do love writing. My older sister was very academic, and she works in business. She heads up the Australian part of a French skincare brand. So she's got quite a senior role in the business world.
Wow.
And my younger sister went more down the path of social work. She's got a very strong, compassionate lens in everything that she does. So she's gone on a very different path, but she's doing really big things on that front as well.
Yeah, very good.
And so then study, the writing. So you went to RMIT, communications, advertising and PR. So you got to use some of that creative side of things in your study. So what was the kind of career options? You chose that just because of your passion for writing? Or?
I chose that because I didn't get into journalism. I really wanted to do journalism at RMIT, and I sat the entrance test and I didn't get in. So I was like, well, the next best thing is PR. I can still write.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was a great course. It was a light course. It was 12 contact hours a week, so I had plenty of hours left in the week to work.
Working out in the retail space.
Yeah, exactly. So I had 2 or 3 jobs going by that point in time. To fill all the rest of the hours and save up as much money as I could. But
Playing a bit of sport.
Yeah, exactly. Keep up my running. So, so I enjoyed uni, and that gave me a good grounding to get sort of into the PR and marketing space in the earlier stages of my career.
So, and then you were in the retail space. Did you work in PR and in retail to start with? That was first before, I think you ended up at Channel 10 after that.
Yeah, I did. While I was finishing my degree, I had been still working for Suzanne, and I ended up working in the Suzanne head office in West Melbourne. And that was a brilliant company to work for. Like, it was as much as it was a big company, there were such strong family values still at the core. I mean, they had lunch ladies that made the lunch there in the head office every single day. And everyone filed down and picked up their lunch from the kitchen. So Suzanne at the time invested in a junior fashion brand called PTO. So while I finished my degree, I was working for PTO doing their PR and marketing. And then I wrapped up my degree and was quite desperate to get into the TV world as a publicist.
Yeah.
Pestered until I had work experience, lined up at Channel 7, 9 and 10, and then managed to land a job at Channel 10 as a result of that. So moved into the TV world for a couple of years.
So your early PR stuff in a small fashion brand, like before we get to Channel 10. So what are you doing there? So you're like trying to get the name out there in the marketplace. You're writing content, talking to journalists and stuff like that without any contacts. Because PR to me seems like you need contacts.
Yeah,
How
definitely.
big were they then? They would have still been a pretty big business.
It was small. It was, I mean, the PTO brand had been around, I think, in the
PTO,
90s, but Suzanne had invested, and so, opened up the first store under the brand of PTO on Chapel Street in Windsor, I think it was. And then maybe got to 3 or 4 stores. There was one at Chatty and one at Doncaster, I think. So it was still a very small business, but with the backing of the Suzanne Group and access to the resources of
And
the
were
Suzanne
they trading well? Did it work?
To a mixed degree. I think there was some really nice early publicity around the brand, and the co-owners along with the Suzanne Group were very entrepreneurial people.
Who owns Suzanne?
Who owns it now?
Who owned it then? It was a family.
It was the Beeson family.
Yeah, Beeson,
yeah.
Was Mary McKay there when you were there?
I think she's
head of property, I think.
Yeah.
She's a tough old bird, that was.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know her personally, but I guess I know of her through the industry more than anything.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
So how did you go about getting PR for a small brand? You're a junior. Did you get any?
Yeah, we did. I mean, I think the owners had some contacts that helped. But it was literally putting straight into practice what I just learned from a PR at RMIT class about writing a media release. You sat down and you wrote your media release.
Sent it off. And
a lot of phoning around to find the contacts. And
it's
sent them out
hustling
there.
though. That's what it's
hustling. Hustling. Yeah, it really was.
You're just trying to get your brand out there.
Yeah, exactly. And if you got a feature in the Herald Sun with a decent photo, then that life was good.
Yeah.
That's what it was about.
And so then you got your gig at, you're in your Channel 10. You're a publicist.
Yeah.
What's a publicist?
Yeah.
Publicist is responsible for maximising visibility of particular programs. So I started as a publicity assistant, and then I was very fortunate to be promoted to a junior publicist And when you're a junior, you start with daytime TV, which is never as sexy.
Yep.
So I was looking after a kids show called Totally Wild.
Oh, yeah. But wasn't the host on that Someone Became Famous? No.
I don't know. Well,
You're thinking of aggro.
different show. The puppet.
Like there's these daytime TV, and then someone comes, like a Neighbours star that becomes famous. No, is that Chris Hemsworth?
Maybe
No,
after my time then. The people that I were working with were lovely people, but I don't think they went on to do.
Never quite made it.
Never quite beyond Totally Wild. And I also had The Bold and the Beautiful.
That's there you go.
Which as
iconic.
Totally iconic. Been around forever. And we were visited by Ron Moss, who played the iconic character of Ridge.
Yep.
So that was an absolute career highlight.
Yeah.
Are you familiar, John?
Not really.
Okay, he's the one with the jaw.
Yeah.
Right.
So Ridge came out to Australia for a couple of days, so I was touring him around in the Channel 10 Tarago, and I'd drive him out to Nunawading, to the Nunawading studios to do Rove Live.
He was a sex symbol, Ridge.
He was a total sex symbol. And I was in my 20s and he was in his 50s and he was still a...
Having a
Still
crack,
hot.
Yeah, I would have gone there.
Did you like, how you doing?
Totally joking.
So but how did he go? Was he, did he like Australian girls?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
There weren't like those after parties,
No, well, not
like-
that I went to, but he had the aura of Ridge in real life. Like I think he
Oh,
played
did he?
that character for so long. Everything was the long stare and the poignant
And
moments.
face that way.
Yeah.
When something's
Yes,
important.
and staring off into the distance.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, he became
So,
his character.
what you were promoting that show and Totally Wild?
Yes, yeah. So trying to get exposure through television media, and you in those days, your aim was to try and get on the cover of TV Week. Like that was doing some really good things for your programs if you could get some decent press exposure. I know that world's totally changed since then, but I worked with a great team, a really gorgeous bunch of women in the publicity department, and some of them have become lifelong friends. So it was a really good, fun role, and it was the era of the very first series of Big Brother in Australia. So I got to work with that group of people, which was this whole idea of reality TV was totally new back then.
Yeah, when was that? What
2001 or 2,
Right.
maybe 2002, I think.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so-
And was it all that you thought it would be, that job? Is it what you expected?
I mean, it probably was because it was fun and exciting, and the newsroom was upstairs, and you'd have Bert Newton was upstairs in the studio, and he'd often wander through, or you'd have to pop up to drop something off, and you'd be walking past all kinds of interesting people in the hallways.
That would have been cool.
It was really fun as someone in my early 20s at the time. It was a really fun job, but I don't know that I could have found long-term fulfillment out of it.
Yeah, so a couple of years, and then you've got into Hospo, so the Windsor Hotel.
Yeah.
So that's doing PR marketing in Hospo.
Yeah.
How did you end up? You've obviously wanted to be in TV, and then a couple of years later went, okay, time to get out.
I reckon there was a pretty pivotal conversation with my dad, maybe a year and a half into working at Channel 10. It was almost to the extent of, right, this has been fun. What are you actually going to start doing though? Like when does your career start? Without those exact words. And at the time it was like, oh, hang on, well, this is it. And then I think that he just knew that I was probably capable of doing something a bit more and different. And he saw that the social life was probably the main driver for me in sticking around at 10. So
Yeah, the parties.
yeah, the parties and the green rooms and all of that. So it was a gentle nudge, but with full support. No real pressure applied. But I thought can probably branch out a little bit broader than publicity, and wanted to look at a broader marketing opportunity. So the Windsor was a nice stepping stone for a couple of years, and it obviously paved the way to the big leap.
Well, the party scene at the pub, you've gone from TV to pubs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you didn't quite get out of the party scene, but then
Well, I don't know. No, it was a 120-year-old hotel. It was a
Oh,
very
really? Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it was
no.
the party scene was more about ballrooms and
Yep.
champagne brunches and different kinds of parties.
And then you've landed at Boost in the early days.
Yeah.
And obviously with Jeff and Janine, some great mentors to work with and stuff back and you've got lifelong friends there that I know. And so, what was the early, like how big was Boost when you showed up?
I think from memory it might have been around 90 to 100 stores.
Okay, yep. So they had a few.
So still a decent
Yeah.
size. This was in 2004. And by the time I left 5 years later, there were around 230 or 240. So it was a very rapid growth period.
And And you're in marketing?
I was the marketing director, but heavily underqualified for a role of that caliber.
And both Jeff and Janine are very passionate about marketing, obviously.
They know brand.
They know brand.
Yep.
And so, were you working with both of them equally, or because at the time Jeff was early days was still not in the business. Was he in the business when you got there, or
not in a full-time capacity?
Yeah.
So Janine was running it. She was the CEO. She was who I reported to. But I had, I think, probably weekly check-ins with Jeff, and he mentored me and coached me and put me through my paces. And it was one of the toughest experiences of my life, but the steepest learning curve I've ever had.
Pretty open and honest conversations.
Yeah, that's a nice diplomatic way of putting it.
Look, I've never met, but he doesn't pull any punches. Is that?
No, he doesn't.
Straight?
He's very direct, and I also look back now and I think, what did you see in me to give me that opportunity to step into a marketing director role based on the experience I'd had to date? Because on paper it didn't really stack up, but he's someone who trusts his intuition and gets a really strong read on people early on and can figure out what they're capable of. So they put me into the role and then really...
Sink or swim.
Yeah, it totally was. And the first few months were grueling, but I learned so much. And at the 12-month mark, I hit my straps, hopefully earlier than that actually, but it was like it just became such a career highlight for me because I was learning what I was capable of doing. And was kind of proving to them.
Brand.
Yeah.
So hold on a second, John. I want to interrupt this BDC Partners podcast to let everyone know we've launched Emerging Giants, an investment opportunity. We're designed to uncover and support Australia's next generation of retailers and franchisors. So what are we looking for?
Right. So we want small businesses, franchise systems, whatever, that have got 3 outlets or more that are looking to grow, that we can help. And we're going to invest up to $250,000, whether in one or in multiples, and also the resources, full resources of BDC, so we can help them realise their dreams. That's pretty much it. We're going to do a pitch night.
So we're here to support founders and business owners to really to grow their businesses. They don't have to be franchised. They could be retail businesses.
Yep.
They could have territories, they don't have to be bricks and mortar.
Nope.
We're looking at all sorts of businesses. It'll be we're having a pitch night in Melbourne on the 13th of November. It'll be at Fordham's and the Rialto. So people will be coming in from interstate. So what we're going to do during the day is have an education event. So during that day, we'll start after lunch and we'll look at getting some speakers in where we can present to the emerging franchisors and retailers, as well as doing some peer-to-peer learning. So bringing some other business owners in there to help out and to facilitate some discussions.
Yep.
We've been running education events for about 5 years, so we're pretty good at running those events and helping the franchisors and retailers that we work with. So if you're interested, people listening today, the link below in the episode description, you can put in an application form and be part of our Emerging Giants.
Get into it, guys. We're here to help. We want to grow it and inject your business today.
Yeah.
So do you remember your interview with him for the first time?
Yeah, it was at Giorgio's Cafe on Glenferrie Road in Malvern.
Yeah. Do you remember the way it went? Just a chat?
Were they
It
both
was a
there or just
chat.
him?
Initially, just Jeff.
Yeah.
And he's got a bit of a rock star vibe to him, so he's kind of laid back and he doesn't dress up a lot. And I thought, well, he's a bit cool. But it was, I don't know.
He's at Oz Stereo at the time.
He was. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
So
Radio.
he was in
Doing
radio.
Doing what?
Programming director.
Okay.
He's a group programming director. Yeah.
Look, I have to say that Christy, Jacinta, you,
Well, you've Herms as well.
yeah, they all cut from the same cloth. Like, I am fucking super impressed with who he's picked, or they both have picked along the way. You're like really driven, focused individuals. That I reckon that's he's got a real talent with that, clearly. Because we've worked with Christy for a little while. She's a fucking legend. Yeah, that's I'm super impressed with that.
But he's obviously picked
very
it.
sharp.
But
yeah.
all three were all very young in their roles.
Yeah.
And what they, Christy was a second-year lawyer or something like that
Yeah,
when he went in
yeah.
there and she was
How old was Jacinta when she started?
even younger, wasn't she?
She must have been 21.
Yeah. She was really young. She went in to do some HR and ended up running international franchising.
Yeah.
So she stayed the longest, I think, didn't she, out of all of you? Yeah.
She did.
But so I think
It's good.
But it's an exciting business growing. You've learnt a lot quickly.
Yeah. And my first foray into the franchising world as well,
Yep.
which was another baptism of fire. And in my first week, I was sort of getting to know the marketing team, and I had the opportunity to meet quite a few franchisees and trying to piece this picture together. And I thought, gee, the franchisees are a very vocal bunch of business owners, and just getting to understand the relationship. And I remember there was a marketing manager at the time, and I'm watching her desk phone, and it had a digital screen that showed a read on how many voicemail messages there were. And by about day 3, there were 40-something voicemail messages. I'm like, aren't you going to check your messages? And she's like, I'm too busy today, I'll do it later. And by Thursday, there were 70-something messages. And by Friday, there were over 110 messages. And I thought, this isn't right. Something's going on here. So I sat there on the Friday night after everyone else had left the office, and I pressed play and I listened to all 112 messages and wrote down notes for all of the calls.
She likes writing.
I like writing a note, as you may have noticed.
Short story.
It was the majority franchisees, and the first messages they left were generally quite reasonable. Hey, need some help with this local opportunity. And then 2 days later, they would have left another voicemail message going, hey, you haven't returned my call. The event's this Saturday. Can we get some vouchers or something? And by the Thursday or Friday, they're irate and they're calling up going, I've missed this opportunity. We've got to do everything we can to be building this business. Is anyone going to return my call? So I was like, whoa, this is so eye-opening for me. And gave me a very quick picture into what was going wrong in the marketing function at the time and what franchisees were expecting, reasonably so. And a couple of months later, I did a tour of all the states to go and visit each of the hubs and attended state franchisee meetings. And they're a lovely group of people, one of the most engaged bunch of franchise partners you could ever meet. But you could tell a few of them were getting a little bit pissed off at the lack of support. And I got to the Queensland meeting and someone had said to me, be aware that the Queensland group are pretty vocal. Like, just be aware and be ready for that. I was like, that's cool. I got my strategy. I've got my PowerPoint presentation. I'm ready to go. And I got up to present and I barely got 2 slides in and someone's at the back of the room going, how are you spending our marketing levies? Where's our money going? We want to see evidence you're actually investing it in marketing. What are you doing to grow our business? Really very, very, I'm going to say aggressive, but they were pissed off because they weren't seeing any evidence that this 3% that they were paying or whatever it was at the time was being invested in a way that would help to grow their business. So it was a really full-on week of meetings with franchisees and understanding where their frustrations were coming from. And it was probably another 6 or 9 months later that we had the right team in place. We had to rebuild the team and get the right people in the right roles and someone with a dedicated focus on local area marketing and more clarity on the long-term strategy so we could actually say to franchisees, here is what we're going to put your marketing dollars towards over the next 6 to 12 months. Here are the major campaigns. Here's where we're expecting it's going to grow your ATV or your sales or whatnot. So we earned that trust and respect from the franchise partners, but it did take time.
So do you think the growth of Boost, because it grew so quickly that, and I know Janine was focused on trying to build a head office ahead of it, but it wasn't keeping up with the growth, and that was, because that to not have 100 missed calls, like that's,
It's pretty extreme.
That's pretty extreme.
Needless
No,
to
it's
say,
extreme.
she wasn't with the business much
No.
longer.
I get it.
Particular
but
lady.
like, from the outside, and we work closely with other people that have been in the Boost business for a long time, besides Jacinta and Christy, and it seemed like they're very, like Michael Irma, very franchise focused. And so, and you hear Janine talk, and she's very franchisee focused. That's not franchisee focused at all. So there was a bit of learning for the whole business and head office at that time about franchising is about listening often
100%.
and learning, because some of these people have got good ideas and they want to be heard. So how did, not just in marketing, but I assume that sort of changed a little bit the culture, because you had to bring them back on board.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think at the time marketing probably had the worst reputation among the franchise group for not listening. And the attitude within the team was, oh, how annoying so-and-so from this store's calling me. It's like, no,
So
that's
they didn't
why
see them
here.
as their customers. Yeah.
No, they didn't. So there was a real cultural shift that had to happen in marketing. I really don't think it was to that extent outside of the marketing function. The broader business was certainly a lot more franchise oriented, but hence why they brought me in, knowing that the team needed a bit of a shake up because it wasn't working. So we created that change and developed some really great relationships with the partners.
Yeah, and so then obviously, it's always a challenge because every franchisee thinks that the money should be spent to help build their business particularly. And, so you're building brand, and Janine's been amazing, and Jeff, but obviously at building brand, it's one of the most recognised brands in the country, which so that's great. But at the same time, local guy wants someone to do something in Mornington.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing for me in Mornington? So how did you strike that balance between building the brand and helping the local area?
Yeah, I guess we had a decent marketing budget at the time, and there was always budget that was put aside for brand building activity. For the big picture stuff, there was always an investment in PR. And then there was an investment in local marketing at the very micro level to make sure that we had the assets and the resources ready to go. If someone did have a local event happening that weekend and wanted to be able to get out and be active and be visible as the local owner of the brand in that area, that they could have the tools and everything that they needed ready to go pretty quickly for that. So,
were you involved in the promotion where they gave away a store?
Yeah.
Was that good?
Yeah, I think it was a great brand activation at the time.
So that would have been, when was that? Like early, like 2010, 11, 12, around then?
No, it would have been about 2008, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I left Boost in 2009 and it was maybe a year before I left.
I'd like to talk to you about that later on, if that's all right.
So you left just around when Riverside came in?
Just before.
Just before, yeah. So you didn't. So it's still very much a family business when you're there with obviously the Beesons and the Harrises and stuff involved. So, what else? Like, what was the thing that what was the biggest learning you got out of Boost?
Gosh, the biggest learning, I don't know. I mean, so much of what I've learned about business came from those early days at Boost, whether it was understanding franchisees and the role that they need to play and the support that they owed. P&Ls, I started in a marketing role at Boost, but then I moved into a more of an international marketing and ops role. And I was afraid of P&Ls up to a certain point in time because I thought they were too complex and I wouldn't have any chance of understanding them. So
sure, your English is not a maths person.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all about the words, not the numbers.
It's a financial story.
There's got to be. I love talking about the story behind the numbers,
Yep.
but I also was ambitious and I knew I wanted to broaden out. So I went and sat with our CFO at the time. It was Mark Slattery.
Yep.
And I said, I need you to teach me P&Ls, please. Can we just can I ask all the dumb questions and just get it all out? And he was so incredibly patient and we went through line by line, a couple of venue store-specific P&Ls, and then we looked at the total business P&L, and he took away the fear factor for me. And I realised, it's not that hard, is it? Every line represents something. There is a story behind every line on that P&L that's telling you what's going on, whether it's your cost of goods or your labour costs or your occupancy costs and rent and whatnot. So I lost the fear of the numbers and the P&L, and I love P&Ls now. I love what they can tell you about the business and the health and the opportunities.
Well, particularly for marketing, because it's all about ROI, isn't it? So you're like, what if I'm getting a return on investment? I need to understand how that's hitting.
Yeah.
Was it technical back then? Was it like, were you looking at return on investment at that point when you were doing it? Has that got a bit sharper?
I'd say it's got a lot more sharp over the years, but if you're doing brand building activity, you don't generally get to see that ROI in a direct sense. I mean, you can talk about reach if you've got, strong PR out there and how many eyeballs have seen it. But if there's a particular product launch, you can obviously run a report and see how many of those you've sold or what percentage of the total mix it makes up. But as far as ROI, based on what you're actually spending on that campaign, it can often be hard to get a direct read.
And I'm going to go back to PR because obviously that was your original background, and whether through you or through Janine's own measure, she did very well at building her own and the business through PR. Some paid and a lot unpaid, I think, because she was pretty good at doing that. So was that something that you were obviously at the part of your role was doing the PR for that. So how do you see that? Because a lot of franchise systems don't do that. It's about marketing. It's not about PR. And you've obviously, Janina and you and Jeff have saw PR as a big part of building the Boost brand.
Yeah, it was a really big part, and we had an agency doing it at that point in time, at least for a period of that time. So I didn't need to be hands-on in the PR sense. But again, it comes back to the intelligence to focus on brand building at the same time as activation-based marketing that drives a specific result. And that can get a bit transactional sometimes because you go, okay, we've had an average transaction value drop. What can we do to focus on ATV? But if it's all that, you're really losing the opportunity of what brand can do to build the business. So there was always a focus on brand building and the really high-level strategic, whether it was through PR or other big brand campaigns.
Were you on Channel 10 a bit
Was I on
during those 5 years?
Yeah.
Just ringing your mates from
ring
Channel
your
10.
mates. Hey,
I
Bert.
need a quick spot.
Hey, Bert, we need to get Janine
Is he
on. Good
there?
morning, Australia.
Just got to drop in.
No, I don't think I did work that one.
Should have fucking
Janine and
exploited
Reed,
that.
no.
Missed opportunity.
Totally wild. Well, she's obviously, building a career in TV since then.
Yeah, for sure.
Adidas next. So,
Yeah.
why did 5 years in, like it was obviously fast paced, you learn a lot. So what made you start to think, okay, I need to get out of this and do something else?
I'd had the opportunity with Boost to travel a fair bit, which was always a big motivator for me. And I'd with Boost expanding into various markets globally, I'd travel to Chile a couple of times and Kuwait and Dubai and Estonia and Portugal. So I had awesome opportunities to go and see a bit more of the world.
On the road with Jacinta?
Normally by the time I was on the road, the deal was signed.
Oh, yeah.
Jacinta and Janine
So
did
she'd go first?
And then once the deal was signed with a
I was
local
going to say,
partner.
you two out and,
Oh, I
traveling
know,
the
that would have
world.
been so fun. I feel like I've
Imagine
missed
that.
something there. That could have been good. So then they would hand the relationship over to me to then
Yep.
work with that master
Marketing,
franchise
yep.
partner and to look at everything from menu localization to how they're going to go about recruiting the team to looking at retail sites, localization of the brand, that kind of thing. So
That
I'd
would
had
have been good.
It was
Good
so fun.
Yeah.
So fun. And generally they signed really good people. It wasn't just about people who had the deepest pockets and the strongest business experience. It was good people that we were working
Yeah,
with in a lot of
right
those
fit.
markets.
Yeah.
So
So how long were you doing that? Was that right at the tail end of the 5 years?
it was the last couple of years. So
Yeah.
first few years were marketing and then the last couple of years were more on the international side.
That would have been a great job.
Fantastic job. Like to be in my mid to late 20s and traveling, every other week and experiencing these different cultures. It was so much fun.
And then but then went, okay, now I want to spend some time home,
Yeah.
back to Adidas.
Yeah.
came up.
So, it wasn't, it was a little bit about wanting to spend a little bit less time traveling, but I still had this bug to go, I want to see more of the world and I want to experience some different cultures. So I had initially applied for a role of retail director for Adidas in Australia. I think I had 4 or 5 interviews and was doing this. I went into the Mulgrave office at the time for this final interview, which was a phone call with the heads of region in Hong Kong. And the MD at the time had said to me, don't worry, it's just a formality. We're just going to jump on this call. They'll just want to ask you a few questions. We've got your contract here ready to go. It's kind of a done deal. I was like, awesome. So I sat down on this phone call with these 2 guys. One was French, one was a Brit, and they tore me to shreds. It was the most terrifying interview experience of my life. And I think they'd already decided before the interview that they weren't going to support me going into the role because I hadn't come from an apparel sportswear background.
Oh, hang on, you had some Nike shoes back in
I
the
had the shoes in the late 80s.
Plenty of them.
I forgot to mention that. She said, just ask my dad. He knows. I can do this. And the MD was completely thrown by it. And he's like, well, this isn't right. Like, I can't appoint you to the role if they're not supporting it. They're the regional office. And then he said, what are you doing this weekend? I was like, well, nothing. Why? And he said, are you prepared to fly to Hong Kong on Friday night and meet with them on Saturday afternoon in person and then you can fly back on Sunday? I was like, yeah, okay. So I did that. I left the office on the Friday afternoon. See ya, have a good weekend. Hightailed it to the airport. Was there for a 2:00 meeting on the Saturday afternoon and spent a few hours. People are always a lot nicer in person too. They lost that kind of
Harder
bulldog.
to say no, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Wankers.
we now very common on Teams and Zoom and stuff, but
Yeah.
we weren't then.
No, and
So-
phone calls are so
phone
different.
worse, yeah.
So that I did that and I flew back. I was back in time for brunch on Sunday with friends. Didn't mention I'd been to Hong Kong the day before. And then I got the phone call on the Monday morning from the managing director to go, I'm so sorry. They're still not prepared to sign off. They're younger than what you'd expect for someone coming into a role like this. So we can't move forward. And I was devastated because in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm only leaving Boost because I've got this brilliant opportunity to go to Adidas.
Had you told Boost by
No,
this?
thank God.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So that was like one of the darkest periods of my career and my adult life because I'm going, well, shit, okay, well, I've got to
Rejected.
reinvest. I'm still here. If there's a massive rejection, they didn't like me face to
Yeah, I
face. So fast forward probably 6 months and I
Who
had
did they go with? Do you remember?
they went with a lovely
Older person.
lady, probably 10 years my senior, but a really lovely, super experienced lady named Libby Sanderson. And 6 months later, I had a phone call from Adidas, from the guys in the regional office in Hong Kong saying, hey, we're sorry it didn't work out with that role for retail director in Australia, but would you be interested in moving to Hong Kong for a position with us here? And I'm thinking, God, I really would love to work for Adidas. Do I want to work for these people though? Because it was a brutal introduction. And I was at a point where I was single and I had this freedom that I knew that it was either now or never. So I was like, yep, okay, I'm up for it. So I packed up my life. They relocated me over there. I was on an expat package. So they literally send a container of all your furniture. I moved to Hong Kong on my own and started this job in the regional retail office across Asia Pacific.
Doing what? What was that role?
It was a retail ops manager.
Right.
But not directly working with the Adidas-owned retail stores. I was working with the retail teams in each of the Asian markets and Australia as well.
And was that a big presence at that stage? Were they
I mean, at the time it was still, wholesale was still very dominant.
Yep.
E-com was only just starting to arrive into the business, but it might have been 20% of the total business. It was very much still a wholesale brand, but retail was the growth engine of the business.
Right. Fucking good job too.
Yeah, it was exciting. And I was travelling every week. I was back and forth.
It's pretty quiet in Hong Kong too.
Yeah,
There's
not much to do.
going on.
No.
In Hong
Not
Kong.
much. Oh, God.
So how long were you there for doing that?
Well, in total in that role for a couple of years, but I was about 10 months into the role and my boss, who was the French guy who I'd met, that little bit earlier,
Yeah.
I grew to like him quite a bit. He was,
He's French. I hate the French.
Oh, harsh. But he also had a very direct way about him. He called me into his office. I'm not going to do accents because I'm no good at it, but he said, I have 2 envelopes for you. Pushed one forward and he said, this envelope is for your repatriation back to Australia if you wish to conclude your employment. And this envelope, as he pushes forward the other one, is for your role to be relocated to Shanghai because our whole team is going to relocate to Shanghai. I was like, oh, okay, well, I really love Hong Kong. Like, I've been here just less than a year. They're my 2 options. So can I think about it? And he was like, yep, we'll send you to Shanghai to do a recce for a weekend. I'd been there 5 or 6 times already. Didn't love it initially because it's a massive, overwhelming city. But I went there for a weekend to try and learn to love it, to go, can I see myself living here? And I reconnected with an old friend of mine who had actually worked for the PR agency that looked after Boost in London, so an English lady who had moved to Shanghai. And I was like, I know no one. Can we catch up this weekend, please? Because I might be moving to Shanghai. And she became my Shanghai sister. And, I took the relocation. I moved a couple of months later. So I lived with this friend. She got me out on my bike. We went to Costco, I think it was, to buy new bikes. And we were riding our bikes everywhere around the city. So she took the fear of Shanghai away for me and helped me to integrate. And it was then a year that I spent living in Shanghai and doing the same job effectively.
That like?
It was brilliant, like such a brilliant experience.
Right.
More challenging culturally and socially than Hong Kong because Hong Kong is completely full of expats and westernised and no language barriers. And
why did they do that? Why do you think they moved from Hong Kong to there? What was all that
China
about?
was the biggest market for them in Asia Pac, so they felt that it made sense that we were as a regional team, that we were more connected with the China team. So we were based in the same office as the China Adidas head office. So it probably helped to build some relationships, but I was still travelling every week across to Tokyo and to Germany a few times a year to the HQ.
Good job. I mean, you're still, late 20s?
Yeah, I was 29, 30. Yeah.
It's good. You've done a bit.
It's good fun.
Yeah,
Didn't meet a
that's
French
awesome.
guy and, moved to Europe. And
No, I met a Scottish guy actually.
Scottish guy.
Through Boost. Yeah.
Over there or over here?
Plot twist.
Yeah, that's because I'm guessing there's kids here, so there's kids
There's
are coming
kids,
up.
yeah. Yeah.
So career and family kind of get a bit.
all kind of blends, doesn't it? Through Boost.
So you're in Hong Kong or Shanghai.
I mean, well, yeah.
So you're single in Shanghai.
I was single in Hong Kong. And was still in contact with a couple of the people who had been the master franchise partners for Boost in Portugal.
Yep.
And had spent time with them, a few years earlier and, met up with them in London and Lisbon and whatnot. And so I'd stayed in contact with a couple of them and, I think it might have been on instant chat on Facebook at the time because that's how we communicated. Just, hey, what are you up to these days? With this particular Scottish guy who was part of that Portugal group. And Boost, he'd sort of stepped out of the Boost Portugal side of things, not obviously left Boost in Australia. And then between Hong Kong and he was living in London, the chat just became a bit more frequent. kind of evolved. It was like, oh, there might be something here. Do we want to maybe catch up in person and see if this is something? And so that was the beginning of what was an 18-month long distance relationship between Asia and Europe, where we'd see each other every couple of months and we'd catch up in Shanghai. Then we'd catch up in, I went to Berlin to run the marathon over there. So he flew to Berlin to meet me there for the weekend. Then I had a friend's wedding in Greece that he came and joined me at, and another one back in Australia. So we had this really fun long distance thing going on for a year and a half until I was ready to wrap up my time in Shanghai. And I said to him, hey, I've potentially got a gig back in Australia. Are you open to moving from London and joining me in Australia?
So what was he doing in London?
He was working for Warner Brothers.
Yep.
Yeah, in DVD sales actually back then. So an industry that probably doesn't really exist much now. But, he's always sort of been in sales and marketing roles. And he's a travel adventurer at heart and said, yeah, sure, why not? We'll give it a go.
Crack.
Give it a crack. So he moved to Australia, and then fast forward 10 years and there's, mortgage
Couple
and
of
3
kids.
kids and a dog.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And you're back in the eastern suburbs.
Back in the eastern burbs after
So
all
you're
that.
living out there again?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
cool.
still out in the east.
And has he made some good mates and settled in well and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Scotsman, good guy, be a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good fellow. I mean, I think he struggled with the AFL obsession in Melbourne when he first got here because he's
Are
like,
you a footy fan?
oh, look, I had to be for a while there at Adidas.
Forces.
Across all
Because
codes.
you're sponsoring clubs and stuff at Adidas.
Yeah, well, we sponsored Essendon during the
drug saga.
drug
Ooh,
saga.
yeah.
So
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
Pep
tough
talks.
times. Yeah. But yeah, like I got into all forms of football at Adidas. I went to the World Cup in South Africa and
cool.
had some amazing experiences, and the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand to see the All Blacks play the Wallabies. So. But now that I have the option, I'm less into football. But yeah, he really struggled at first because he's like, when I'm talking football, I mean soccer, and no one knows soccer here.
Yeah.
But today he's working in a job that's very much involved with the AFL. He can talk about the stats from the 1996 Premiership,
God.
and he's fully a
He's
football
really
head now.
corrupted.
He's
Is he
become he doesn't support one particular team. I think he leans a bit towards Hawthorn, but
You got to pick a team. Come on.
yeah, I think he's prepared
No,
to
you
share
don't.
his
Yeah, no, you
loyalties. So.
They hate it. Since we moved down in 2000, I remember going to coming back from the bakery and going to a bottle shop. And I walked in, it was Sunday and there was no one on the roads. And the guy's like, who are you going for today? And I'm like, oh, who's playing? Because I didn't give a fuck. And he's like, he looked at me and was like, are you fucking serious, mate? He was so
Like angry about it.
angry. It's like, how can you not know? And it's like, from that point, I thought, I'm never going to get into it just to piss everyone in Melbourne off.
John's from Sydney and
Yeah.
Or Wagga, but
Wagga,
yeah.
Yeah. No,
but-
you stand firm.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, good.
It's my little bat.
Yeah.
So moved back 2 years in Hong Kong,
Asia.
Yeah.
moved back and doing what with Adidas still?
Moved back with Adidas to
Right.
take on the retail director role that I'd missed out on, 3 years earlier. So I did eventually get that role, but it all worked out beautifully because I don't know that I would have been particularly good at that role if I'd gone straight into it. But having had the grounding of that experience in Asia and working across all the Asia Pac markets and working with some of the best retail directors I could ever hope for across the likes of Japan and South Korea, I learned so much from them, which made me far more qualified to step into that retail director role.
Do you think Australia are good at retail on the international sort of stage?
I mean, I think we are when this is all you know, but after having spent time in Asia and seeing the size and the scope of retail over there and the sophistication over there, you realise how small we are by comparison.
But the
Yeah,
market
definitely.
is so big there, though.
Yes.
That allows you, to, I guess, success and failure can be pretty big over there as
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah.
what did you learn from over there that you brought back to here that we weren't doing? Was there anything in the Asian market or?
Look, I don't know there was anything that I necessarily brought back, but I think I developed more of an appreciation for how much harder it is in Australia because we have really high retail rents in Australia, as they do across all of Asia, but we don't have the population to generate the level of revenue that can sustain those rents a lot of the time. So given retail was still not new, but it was the up-and-coming growth part of Adidas at the time, and we had this new global retail team in Germany that was saying every store needs to deliver a minimum 20% bottom line. And, we had factory outlets that delivered that really comfortably, but we had concept stores, the performance and original stores that struggled to do 12%, and some were maybe breaking even because they were brand flagships. So there was like this realigning of the business from a retail point of view and making sure we had the right mix of concept stores at full price versus factory outlets. Because if you go too hard in factory outlets, you become seen as that discount brand, which is never good.
Cheapens it, yep.
But there were some tough conversations with the guys in Global to say, actually, we probably won't be able to hit 20%. If you want any concept stores in Australia, here's how the rent stacks up in relation to the population density in these areas. And anytime we wanted to open a new store, I guess the benefit of working in a smaller business like Boost is you can move so quickly. You can be agile. But with a company like Adidas, if I wanted to propose a new store, I had to put together a full business plan for it, which I had to have signed off by the CFO and the MD locally. Then we'd have a meeting, which was usually at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, with the Singapore team, and I'd take them through the presentation and the business model and how we'd forecast footfall and whatnot. And if they signed off on it, then it would be another meeting with the guys in Germany where I'd be trying to explain to them, well, this is why Westfield Bondi is important to us, and this is what the catchment's like, and this is the socioeconomics of the area. And that process could take 4 to 6 weeks, if not more. And often you'd lose a site in the meantime because someone else has come and snapped it up. So there was this real heaviness in the way that Adidas worked at the time because it's a really big business and you couldn't be agile. So many benefits to working for a big company like that. But I also love the speed and the agility of working for a smaller business.
And is our labour, I mean, obviously it's a lot higher than the States, but where do we sit around the world? Are we a lot more?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, this is still quite a few years ago, but at the time there were a lot of conversations justifying why labour costs were so high, both from a store perspective and a support team perspective as well, and having to benchmark salaries and really justify why certain roles were needed or why certain headcount was required in stores. So, yeah,
So at
model.
the time, how many stores did you have, and how much of the sales of Adidas in Australia was through the Adidas stores compared to into Myer and everywhere else?
Yeah, it was, I think, around 26 company-owned stores.
Yep.
And at the time, the revenue was something across Australia and New Zealand. The revenue was something like €50 million, and it was around 20 to 30% of the total business.
Was the
at
stores?
the time.
So you're running the store part of your retail
Yes.
director.
Yes.
So just the store part of things.
Yeah, and then there's a wholesale director running
Yeah.
the rest of it.
Yep. And so was the plan, because there's a license model as well, or is it just company owned?
Just company. Well, at the time, it was just company owned with
Yeah.
Adidas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next, how long were you there for?
Was there in that retail director role for a couple of years. And then I moved into the brand director role, and brand in Adidas includes all the merchandising functions. So you've got all the people who are doing the ranging across sportswear and originals and all the different running categories and training categories. So it was a pretty broad role to step into as brand director. And yeah, it was like, if I look back now, I go, everything happens for a reason, but I loved the retail director role. Like, that was a purple patch in my career that I loved the autonomy of being able to go out and find new sites and having to prove why this was going to work and leading
You're
the team.
working with Beck then too?
Yeah.
Crazy.
We had another leasing person supporting us who wasn't delivering what we needed, and I remembered, hang on, there was this really great chick called Beck who did stuff for Boost. Jumped on the phone to her, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And I'm so stoked she's still working with Adidas now. She's still
She's working
She's
with
great.
BDC and
Love
doing
that.
some stuff with Adidas. So it's a
So
long time
good.
ago.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, the step into the brand role, it was another learning curve, but it wasn't the right fit for me. I should have stayed in the retail director position, and I think it brought different challenges. It was a very male-dominated part of the business, especially in the senior director level ranks. I went to a global brand directors meeting in Berlin, and at that point in time, the world was divided into 16 markets. So I was there representing Australia and New Zealand, and I was the only female brand director in a room that was entirely male. So there were 15 male brand directors and probably another 10 or 15 people who'd come up from the head office in Herzogenaurach, and they were all males as well. And I just remember looking around the room going, oh my God, like, this was 2011, 2012.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, like, and ironically, there were conversations going, right, let's talk the women's strategy. Why is women's not growing at the rate that it should be growing? And why is, Lululemon surpassing us in X, Y, Z? And thinking, seriously, like, you don't look around this room and go, hang on a second. So, so interesting times, and I learned something through every stage of my career, but
So left there.
Did you have
not
kids?
long?
Was this your kids were after Adidas?
well, yeah, I fell pregnant while I was
Yeah.
in that brand director role. and I hid the pregnancy for the first 18 weeks because I was very nervous about how sharing that news would go down.
Yeah.
And it didn't go down so well. And
So they were really supportive.
Really, that archaic, I would have thought they'd be.
yeah, I
Lot
mean, I'm
more
sure
advanced
they've.
now.
I'd love to think I'm sure they've progressed since then.
Yeah.
But I can only talk to my experience, and it was a really negative one, to be very honest.
Shit.
Yeah, when I told my boss at the time, I need to have a chat, I'm pregnant, his response was, "Oh, fuck." It's like, I think you mean congratulations. Yeah. He went, "Oh, no, of course, congrats." And he was like, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, "Of course I'm happy. I just got married. I'm having a baby. I'm not dying. And I plan to come back."
Got this parasite.
Yeah. This
And here's an
thing's
envelope.
growing inside
This
me.
envelope I'm going to have to leave.
Yes. Yeah.
Roll that one out.
So yeah,
Was
I mean,
like
that
you
was,
didn't think that it was going to be on the radar. Or
yeah,
something.
maybe I don't know. I think that there was
Like
definitely
you were 21. Like you were-
exactly. Yeah, I'm 33 by this point. Clock's
That
ticking.
happens. Things are like that happen.
Yeah.
So, babies having the first one.
Mm-hmm.
How many have you got?
3.
Excellent.
Three girls.
Yeah.
What are they? Three
Three
girls.
girls.
Like her and
Ah.
her two sisters.
Yeah, exactly. Girl
What's your
power.
husband's name or your
Tommy.
partner's name? How's Tommy? Is he all right with
He's
all
all
that?
right.
that
Yeah.
female
He's a
in the
girl
house?
dad.
Yeah, he's a girl dad. He is fully supportive. He comes to all the ballet concerts. He even attempts to do the ballet hair bun sometimes.
no, that's
I
tough.
know. It's above and beyond, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So, no,
My
he
wife
gives
ran a
it-
dance school, and so we had girl. I just the hair part. No,
Just leave that to the experts. But no, he embraces it. He's great with it. So
And were you back and forth, sort of going back, or did you just go bang, bang, bang?
with the kids,
Yeah.
yeah, like 2 years and 2 years apart. So
Yeah,
all very
belted them out.
lined up. Yep, that
Yeah,
was
that's
kind of
good.
the baby era.
Yeah.
and at that time you were doing you studied consulting business.
Yep.
So you were doing now you get to work with a whole range of different businesses.
Yes.
To bring your experience from a fast-paced entrepreneurial business in Boost to a massive global corporate business.
Yeah.
Now bringing that down to consulting gigs
Mm-hmm.
in between parenting. So, what sort of consulting gigs did you take on? Like, who were some of the businesses? What types of businesses?
Yeah, real variety. So one of the brands was Atlas Weekly. So Chef Charlie Carrington has got a beautiful restaurant in South Yarra called Atlas. And during COVID, when everything closed down and hospitality ceased to exist, he pivoted the business and established a home delivery meal kit product. And it was highly popular during COVID, but we were coming out of COVID by this point in time, and he was seeing his sales decline. So he's like, "I don't know what I need, but I need help." So it was a bit of brand support. We rebranded the product that he was selling. We looked at reporting to make sure he was really understanding his numbers properly. I mean, he runs a really solid business anyway. So, but that was great fun as part of a small business and decisions being made really quickly. It was a great experience. I enjoyed working with him. Spent some time working with Kate Save on Be Fit Food.
Yep.
Jane's sister.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
Mornington Peninsula girl.
Yeah, that's it.
Another legend.
That's it. So, so did some work with her around marketing and retail, given they had a couple of retail locations at that point. Spent a couple of years, it was considered consulting, but it became a sort of permanent 2 or 3 day a week thing with Bounce Inc., the trampolining
Yep.
centres.
With Macca,
Yep, with Macca, that's it. So
another ex-boosty
Yeah.
for a short period.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a small world. You never burn your bridges, do
Yeah,
you?
yeah. And well, then half the Boost team ended up at Sushi. So
That's it,
there was
yeah.
what 10 of you at one point or something.
Yeah, there was a lot. Yeah. So then like my gig with Sushi started out as a consulting one
Yep.
as well, a day or two a week, and then that kind of grew. So
And Gav was there, and Olivia was there. And,
yep,
yeah,
and
so,
Scott and
Scott,
Debbie.
yeah.
Yep.
So the whole crew. So how was that going from? And I've heard we've worked with Gavin, so we've know a little bit of the story from Gavin's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think he was one of the first, like being there was an Asian business run by Asian people with Asian franchisees,
Mm-hmm.
and then bringing in the whole Anglo Boost crew.
Yeah.
So how was that? Well, you got there. There's obviously a few people already.
Yeah, quite a
that
bit
were-
of change had already happened by the time I arrived. But yeah, that was a good couple of years with Sushi, and I guess just getting back into franchising and QSR, and really driving COGS and looking at menu optimization and working with the chefs on new product development and supporting the ops team and making sure that procedures, processes were really consistent and SOPs were being adhered to. So it was
So you were running that? You were CEO of that? Or?
no,
ops.
it was an ops and marketing role.
Right,
so
okay.
I had the national ops manager and the head of marketing.
Was Scott
reporting to me
CEO at the time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was.
So Scott
Manili.
Yeah. So he'd been CEO at Boost and then left to go to CEO at Sushi. So did you work with him at Boost? He was much later.
we overlapped. Yeah, we overlapped at
yeah.
Boost. He wasn't CEO when I was there though.
He was running the company-owned stores, wasn't he? Something like that.
Might have been. I can't remember what he was doing back then.
Yeah. Cool. And so it was only a year or so there as while you were doing other consulting gigs.
Yeah, it got to the
that
point. I
time.
did a couple of years with Sushi and dropped the other consulting work because I was getting enough regular, consistent
3
work
kids
out
is
of
probably keeping you a bit
Sushi.
busy.
That plus 3 kids. Yeah.
Trying to run a marathon here and
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Fit that in between as well.
Yeah.
So-
Kept the fitness regime up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Getting better with age. More
Yeah.
and
Oh,
more
really?
with age. It's great. Yeah.
You're running another one at the moment, are you?
I did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sydney.
How was it? Oh, that was the Sydney Marathon was on when all those protests were on, weren't they?
Yeah, it was.
So you had the
Is that what Sam ran in? The Sine Wave franchise?
Yeah. So we had we bought into a franchise called Sine Wave,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the franchisees was running in that marathon on the
She's
Sunday.
60 something or other. She does 100K runs as well.
Wow, that's next level.
Yeah, and so I was watching on the news, and there was protests, the Palestinian protests. There was I don't know what the other one called, the Australian one, and
Yeah, there were a couple of protests.
Yeah, all came together when the marathon course was running through the streets of Sydney. So would have been a
thankfully
lot of people around.
There were so many people around. Thankfully, it didn't interrupt the marathon
Your
at all.
time was good?
Time was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really happy with my time. It was a 3:36, which is not
Jesus.
my fastest, but
Still
it's not
not
my
bad.
slowest. So
Hell.
getting better with age.
How are the knees going? You know?
Knees are great,
Yeah.
touch wood. I live on glucosamine and fish oil and magnesium and all those wonderful things. But
doing recovery and
recovery is very important, Bruce, isn't it? As we have discussed.
Certainly is.
Bloody
Yep.
hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
super fit.
okay, so now into this CEO role.
Yeah.
How's that
Back
going?
with Jeff and Janine.
Back with Jeff and Janine, back to the
So
Alice
how
family.
many stores did they have when you joined Yochi?
10 or 11.
Yeah.
So they bought the business in 2020 when there were 4 venues.
Yep.
And I
Off
joined.
Made.
Yeah, exactly. And then I joined at the end of 2022 or mid to late 2022 when there were about 10 venues. So they'd started that expansion. That opened a first venue in Queensland, in New South Wales and in Adelaide.
Yep. Family business, you know.
Yeah.
Oliver's involved as well.
Yeah, Ollie's very involved. So that was 10, 11 venues then. And as of today, we're at 58, I think, soon to be 59.
So it's been great. And it's interesting, like
Franchised.
No. So just before, company owned, but also like we acted for a couple of other yogurt businesses, and obviously George Calumbaris and Radix Sully owned it with Made, and it wasn't going well. There was other businesses that didn't go well. The yogurt thing had gone really well in the US and come off again. So trending wise, it was at the back of the trend. And I know the Boost, everyone used to say, oh, that juice thing's going to die. Like it's a trend. Why would you buy something it'll be done? Whereas it seemed like you've come into Yochi on a yogurt trend that's on the decline, but you've turned it around massively. So what, like Brandon is, it's all about brand and the product. I can't imagine, maybe it is much better, but it's about the brand and how you've marketed it. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, that comes back to Janine and Jeff's knowledge and understanding of brand and the role it has to play in business. And they created a shift in culture and in society with what they did with Boost all those years ago, and the same thing is happening now with Yochi. So the business had good bones. It had 4 decent locations in Melbourne. It had a pretty simple supply chain. It had a decent brand. It wasn't really a well-known brand, but it had a strong following in its really localised catchments. So they went, there's good bones here. We can build something from this. And the intent was to grow it, open a few more stores, and then maybe, offload it after a few years. And Oliver was involved in those early, like right from the time of buying the business as well. And he's quite like Jeff and Janine to a big extent that he works by intuition and, what feels right and what seems right from a brand point of view and what would resonate with him from a brand point of view. And they made some awesome decisions really early on that helped to build the brand very quickly and to build demand for the brand so that they could then open a lot of venues in pretty quick succession.
And low labour costs. So, there's not many staff in there. Not shopping centres as well at the start. Is that?
Not at the start.
Yeah,
at the start, it was all high street.
High street, yeah. And queues of teenage boys and girls standing out come from school and go and stand in line,
Yeah.
you know, in the afternoon. So it's not really a meal. It's like a snack, but it's a meal replacement or
Yeah, it's that, but it's a social meeting spot more than
Yeah.
anything because
for teenagers.
teenagers want to go and hang out somewhere with their mates, but they're not going to go and sit in a cafe. They don't want to pay for a dinner at a restaurant. They're not able to get into a pub yet, and hanging out at a park is less appealing. So I think where Yochi's really hit the mark is it's creating spaces where people of all ages are really welcome to come and hang out, and there's no pressure to eat and leave quickly. You can sit and hang for an hour if you want.
So all the sites have a lot of tables and chairs
Yes.
as opposed to a takeaway. Like a lot of the acai bowl places are just a hole in the wall.
Yes,
You know, grab and go. So you wanted it to be a place where they sit.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And every decision we make in the venue design is built around that. So plenty of seating, free Wi-Fi. There used to be stations selling bottled water and other drinks in every venue. And when Ollie was involved in the business very early on, he said to his parents, like, if I'm going to be part of this business, we're not selling plastic water bottles. Like, no one should be selling plastic water bottles these days, especially living somewhere like Melbourne where we've got access to great
Nice
water.
Yeah.
And so, they did the sums and went, okay, there's a bit of a sacrifice to be made here if we're going to stop that because there's a decent revenue stream there. But credit to them, they ripped out the drinks fridges in every single venue and replaced them with water stations with free still and sparkling water. So we encourage people to come in, even if they're not getting a Yochi. We've got in some of our venues, they know the neighbouring retailers down the street, and people will pop in with their water bottle first thing in the morning, say, morning, just filling up. Like, yep, all good, no worries. They come and fill up their water bottle at our water station and then head out the door because we want to discourage people from
Coffee?
using
Well, it creates a
Coffee
habit.
in there?
no coffee.
No coffee either.
No coffee.
So people coming in the mornings, so you're open for 3 meals?
No, I mean, most of our venues open at about
Yeah,
11
lunch.
a.m.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but they're open till 8 or 9 o'clock at night?
Oh, 10,
10,
11
yeah.
o'clock.
The
Yeah.
one- yeah.
And not burgers or anything
No.
like that.
No, just frozen yogurt and a beautiful spread of toppings.
That's awesome.
And acai.
And acai.
Yeah.
Frozen yogurt and acai. Yes.
So, and it's...
Sounds like a real failure.
Oh,
Fucking hell.
have you not tried it before?
No, I hate yogurt. It tastes like
stop
shit.
it. Right, you are going to come and try Yochi. There's
Oh,
your free
finally,
Yochi.
finally, I get
Jesus,
some.
we've
Yeah,
done
absolutely.
65
Fucking
podcasts
There
and
you
someone's
go.
actually
no one's
given
given
you
a
something.
freebie before. There you go. Next Yochi's on us.
I know the one in Mornington, which is not, they do burgers down
That's
there.
Yo-
What's that one?
YOMG.
Yo, my
OMG.
goodness.
Yeah.
They are, it was just heaving. Heaving. But that's fantastic.
So let's just talk about health for a minute. So like the one on the front looks pretty healthy. The one on the back is probably not as healthy. So it's got a mix, isn't it? So you can pick healthy options. You can have the acai. You can
Absolutely,
have
you
the healthy
can.
option, but you can make it into a dessert. And
You
make
can
it,
be it can be a dessert, it can be breakfast. I guess that's the beauty of Yochi. It's the customization that you can be as healthy or as indulgent as you want. And I eat a fair bit of Yochi, believe it or not. Like, I'm in venues more days than I'm not, and I'm there very often with my kids as well. And so I'll typically go for an acai with fruit toppings and a bit of granola and a superfood sprinkle. And I know that that's a relatively low sugar, high nutrient bowl for me, whether it's lunch or whatever. But if people want to go for dessert and load up on chocolate brownie and Nutella and pistachio puppy, then go for it. You can go as big or as small as you want.
That's awesome.
And so in terms of the growth for the brand, like you've opened a number of stores and internationally. So you've signed up in Singapore and, there's other markets on the path. So what's the growth plans, coming forward?
Yeah, good question. We just opened the first venue in Singapore 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
And
Smashing it.
it's just mind blowing. The queues of people. From the opening day, the queue started at 3 a.m. and they didn't let up for the entire day.
3 a.m.
My
And the venue opened at 11 a.m., but people had heard about Yochi in Australia and they'd been following us on socials, and there was a real buzz created before we opened. And the lines pretty much haven't let up in the 4 weeks since.
that's good.
Since. So, we don't take that for granted. We're blown away by the support of people in Singapore, and really critical for us is making sure we deliver on that experience. So we sent the A-team over. We had our very best of the best trainers there. Our GM of Ops has been over there to make sure the supply chain setup is absolutely spot on and all of their systems are right, because you can get something like that up and running, but to be able to maintain it and deliver that experience in a really positive way day after day is a challenge. So we've got awesome partners that we're working with there, and we're throwing every bit of support we can at it to make sure that it maintains this level.
Good on you.
And so, so I know Janine mentioned you've got a franchise button on your website that there's like thousands of people to register an interest without even spending $1 on marketing for franchisees. There is a market without it. And so looking at that market as well. But I know the plan is to push forward with company owned, but what's the Australian plans?
Yeah, we're dipping our toe in the waters of franchising just with a couple of more regional locations.
Yep.
And they're people known to the business and very much proven in this space as well. So, yeah, we won't be embarking on a mass expansion from a franchise rollout anytime soon. That's certainly not part of the plan. But where it makes sense to go with someone with that local expertise.
And people you know too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're very protective of this brand. Like, it's still a small Aussie brand and it's growing, but like we take such care in every single person who comes into this business, whether it's a potential franchise partner or an international partner or anyone who's part of our support team or the venue leaders, because we feel very protective of what we're creating here and the positive energy and momentum around it. So people make it or break it.
Absolutely.
We need to finish up.
Yep.
We need to go and get some Yochi. You can try
you
it. Last question. So you've worked, in lots of franchising and retail businesses. So a lot of the people that listen are emerging franchisors or new to the business. So any tips you've got for, back in the franchising world for franchisors?
Franchisors, gosh. I mean, I think, like we were saying earlier, it's having that focus on brand at all times and making sure you don't get sucked into the trap of being too transactional in your day-to-day focus, because building the brand is equally as important as knowing your P&L in the day-to-day and treating every single store or venue like it is your entire business and the only part of your business. So it's always having that blend of brand and commercial and knowing when one needs more of your attention or focus than the other.
Cool.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
It's been fun.
And thank you. Thank you for listening to our BDC Partners podcast. If you enjoyed it, remember to like and share. Thank you.